What's up, peoples? What's up? Happy Sunday. Man, I feel good to be here on this beautiful Sunday evening. Man, I am excited. This being the final podcast of the year. I am so excited for reals about today's guest, man. And we're going to jump right into it because I don't want to waste no time. But I just wanted to stop by and say, man, I hope you guys had a beautiful Christmas. I hope you guys just enjoyed family time and just build some good memories. And for you that unfortunately it wasn't that merry, God bless you anyway. Just know that there's going to be brighter days. I know that the holidays could be hard for people. I know for myself this was like the first Christmas without my niece, and it's rough seeing my family still grieving behind it, man. And I understand it. There's no time frame in grieving and missing our loved ones, man. And there's a quite a few people that I know that lost some loved ones during the year. And the holidays, it could really, really hit them sensitive areas of our lives of missing them and kind of damper the moment. But for the most part, man, we're still here, man. We're still under the umbrella of grace. And I just hope and pray that you guys would, just press through whatever it is that you're going through as we begin this new year. I pray because I won't see you until next year, man. It sounds like so long from now, but I pray that you guys celebrate in a healthy way, that you guys are safe, that you're building up some new memories. I know New Year's could kind of be kind of crazy as well for a lot of people, but you know what, though, man, just make the best of it and enjoy it. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, do that right now. I'm not going to talk no more until you hit the subscribe. We're just going to be quiet. Hit the subscribe button, man. Nah, I'm just kidding. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, man. Be sure to share it. Tonight's episode, man, is going to be a good one. You don't want to miss this. And man, we're going to jump right into it, man, for reals today, man. Trap No More podcast is blessed to have here in the studio my big brother, man. He's a good friend of mine. We go back, man. I want to say almost like 28 years, about 28 years, I would say, somewhere around there, man. It was like 97, I believe. Somewhere around there, 97, I believe. 96, 97, I believe. And man, we have some good memories together, I could say, man. Some challenging memories, some hostile environment memories, I can say. But overall, though, man, we're both here, and I'm excited for this brother, man. I'm excited. I'm not going to share his story. I'm gonna let him do it. So we're gonna jump right into it, man. So please do me let's stand up, let's cheer on our brother right here, Mr. Preston.
Hey, how we doing? How we doing, everyone? I really don't know where to begin. This is all new to me.
So let me, let me tell you something, brother Preston, about what I've been doing pretty much since I came home. And it's pretty obvious, because you part of my life. You kind of know my journey. You know what I've been about. You know what I do, because you do similar.
Yes.
So for the last 21 years, man, since coming home, since I paroled from Corcoran, right, where you were at. I see I'm going in your story already. Dang.
Yeah, hey, but it's all good.
But since I came home, man, I've been helping families that are dealing with their loved ones incarcerated, their loved ones addicted to drugs, their loved ones just running amok out in the streets, addicted to that lifestyle of crime. So me having the past I have and the passion to help people, that's how Trap Families was birthed. So that's what I do. I don't know if you heard, but for the last couple of years, I've been doing some, private life coaching for them family members. As you know, I was a substance abuse counselor for a lot of years, but I kind of like backed away from, the organizations and kind of went into my private thing and been helping people based on my rules. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's been going really good, man. But that's what Trap Families is. So a lot of your audience are family members of them that have loved ones incarcerated or on drugs or just out there gang banging, running up amok. So that's why I brought you on here, you being from the streets like me, not necessarily the same streets, but kind of along them lines. And you being a mentor and helping people, I said, you know what, man, I would love to close out this year with your story. So what I would like you to do so people kind of get to know you a little bit, can you go back and tell us where you're from, where you grew up, what your family life was in them young ages, and just kind of work your way up? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And kind of hit them points.
yeah. It can get kind of emotional in some areas, but I mean, if we want to just start from, I grew up in Vegas, Las Vegas, Nevada. Um, I mean, we're gonna skip a lot of the logistics as we go. I'm the oldest of my clan, which is six of us. And being the leader, I guess the oldest person in the family, I kind of set the precedence. I trailblaze a lot of different things. And it's just fortunately in my household, it was sports, so sports is, and one thing, I didn't get in trouble, like any kind of real trouble, until my adulthood, because sports pretty much kind of guided and leaded my life through everything and navigated me. So I was kind of privileged in that arena due to my experience and my skill set. Fortunately, my brother was the same way. So I kind of led the precedence in that particular arena, been sought out, wasn't looking for college, wasn't looking for those things, just wanted to just play the game in itself, whatever it was, baseball, football, basketball, track. I did it all. As a matter of fact, my whole family did it all. So I think it was just a way for my mom to kind of make sure that we was under some type of structure and we was in some activity so we wouldn't be lost to the streets, because she was pretty much kind of guiding us through our area of being educated.
Mhm.
So, being the mother, I mean, my father was there, but he was a busy man. So it was kind of left to her, on her recliners, to kind of lead us in the and getting us a babysitter, in other words.
Mhm.
But other than that, it was pretty much a simple life for me. I think I was starting to become challenged in my life, um, when I started to get involved with college. And I say that when I start thinking about it, thinking back, I was always in leadership roles, whatever I did. But when I look back on my life, I didn't navigate my emotional intelligence wisely,
Mhm.
going through there and trying to help others to mimic the things that I was trying to go through at the time. So, I became kind of a victim in my own self, I guess,
Mhm.
because I had opportunities to play professional sports and kind of wintered that away with injuries and things like that. So I kind of got discouraged. I had a dark spell in my life early. And it all came when I, went through my college spell,
Mhm.
playing sports. So with that, but going, I don't know if we skipping and going into areas of when how we came or how I came to be in trouble, things of that nature.
Mhm.
Uh my life, when I got injured, I came home to rehab, and I remember sitting back, and my most worriest thought was, how was I going to take care of my family?
Mhm.
That was my most worriest thoughts, like, because all I love was doing was sports. So when I was injured, then it felt like I was handicapped. So now I don't have any other skills. I didn't
Mhm.
know how to do transferable skills at that particular time. So my emotional baseline was very, very low. So I was very vulnerable to be acceptable to just about anything that would be profitable to me, and being more supportive to my family at the time. And as I started getting more involved in that type of lifestyle, I noticed that I became addicted to my own behavior patterns.
Mhm.
So when I say that, when you jump into this world of chaos, I would say, then you start taking on personality traits that don't necessarily chime with the way you've been
Yeah,
raised.
yeah.
And so, and in that struggle, I was taking on a different type of identities that really wasn't comfortable for me.
Mhm.
I was a people person, and this is why it was attracted to me, that I can do certain things without the effort, the struggles that most people was doing because of my personality. But but it was killing me inside, and that's when my imbalance was starting to come in, and I started to just start doing just about anything to get away from it, but get away from it, if that makes sense. Um, you start from a mediocre area where you're doing curve serving, and when you're in a then you start getting conscious of certain things, and you don't want to be seen, and you start saving a little bit more instead of just getting out. I started, building up
Yeah.
to
Figuring out some other ways to keep it going.
without just necessarily making myself physically present.
Mhm.
Um, Still killing me though,
Yeah.
So, one thing led to the next. I did receive my first time being uh in face with the law in 86, I believe, in 86. Um and I did a 3-year term. First time ever being convicted of crime. I fought it for a couple of years on the street, but it was new. But one thing that I always been true to is holding myself accountable. If I did something, then I'm gonna be accountable to making sure I meet the necessary requirements to get through the process.
So did you go in there and say, "I'm guilty, give me what I got coming," or what
No,
did that look like?
no, I
So
didn't
you
go in
weren't
there
so you weren't that
submissively, but I was there, is what
Uh-huh.
I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
Never, I never felt that it was a need to run from a problem that I was a part of created, even though I was in denial and may have been in denial in some other
Mhm.
areas. I knew I didn't want to, further, enhance the
Yeah.
situation more than what it was.
So what did that feel like for you, Preston? You being, a good kid all them years, and now here you are busted. What did that feel like towards your
Embarrassment.
family? Like,
It it
man.
it was embarrassment, it more than anything, it was
Mhm.
shame. Yeah, it was embarrassment, shame. It was all those things that fit the chart in the wheel of emotions. And I say that because, again, I was sports. I was in the papers a lot,
Mhm.
growing up. A lot of people was recognizing me from different activities, and it never was nothing in a negative capacity.
Yeah.
And to be hit with that all of a sudden, and then being thrust into the papers, and that's not a great feeling to be faced with. But I faced it,
Mhm.
but
And
it
how
was,
how did your family, like, respond to that? Did they still have your back? Were they supportive, or did they be
yeah,
like
my family is we really tight. We was really tight growing up. As far as my siblings is concerned, at the time I probably was, I'm big brother, you know, and I have my own personal relationship with all my siblings in that regard.
Mhm.
As far as my parents, yeah, it's a new experience. My mom was stressed out the game. You know how that go. You try not to worry her so much and keep her calm and letting her know that you facing the responsibilities that you had put on table, but at the same time that was and then it was tough going through that whole process when I did get convicted and get the crime, get the time, and I did that 3 years in Nevada. That was a time when my mom decided at the time, God said, put cancer on her.
Mm.
So, man, great, I mean, it's just a learning experience all the way around on the neglect,
Mhm.
that we get so selfish in our areas of thinking we trying to do for others, and we find ourselves, being so arrogant in the areas of trying to really appease ourselves. So image starting to become a part of it, and it slowly creep up on you, and you don't realize you're a part of that process until destruction happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean, because we get so caught up in this new identity and putting all these different masks to get by in this circle of chaos, as you mentioned. I mean, sometimes it's hard to find our way back, you know what I'm saying? Because
Man.
we get so deep in it, and we have them parents, and this is what I always like put out there, is that in our chaos, and we don't realize the damage we do to the families, you know what I
No, we
mean?
don't.
Until later on when we finally have that moment of clarity where we're like, dang, I done drug my family
Man.
through some mud.
It's funny, we talk about it, today, I have, they're stable enough to where we can talk about those things and laugh back and just see how we push through. But in the moment when you sit in a quiet place and then you start thinking about what effect you had on the household, being that I was really a pretty, pillared in the household
Mhm.
at the time. I look at my youngest brothers, my situation, and the dynamics in itself, how it kind of, you know, it just separated in
Mhm.
a sense, So uh, you just don't really know until it happened, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a great learning experience for me. When I went through that whole experience, um, what was one of the biggest learning experience when I went through the whole realm of incarceration. I want to talk about it a little bit,
Yeah.
but through the realm of incarceration, that my first experience, because I was a two-termer.
Mhm.
I did time in Nevada, and I did 3 on the 3 down there, and then I got out. But the learning experience from that experience was no learning experience, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And I say that is that I didn't read a book. I didn't do any ministry work. I mean, on self,
Mhm.
I didn't do any reflection. Um, my activity and my behavior patterns didn't change on that first term. It was all about day to day.
Yeah.
It was day to day. So it just, and when I recognized that the impact that it had on me, to where it actually led me back into incarceration, I can see the patterns of how people, if they're not nurtured in a manner of mentorship,
Mhm.
um, uh, some form of structure of helping them identify with their emotional baselines, being able to articulate what it is that's happening with them. If you're not in that capacity where people can kind of push you through those ambivalences that you may be experiencing, then you tend to lean on your own uh, patterns of behaviors of
Mhm.
old
Mhm.
to respond. And the thing is about it is that it's not a right or wrong. It's
Yeah.
safety.
Mhm.
It's your fight or flight that tends to put you in that particular balance
Yeah.
where you respond that what's been naturally keeping you safe, even though
Mhm.
it might look negative to the eye,
Yeah.
but it's been something that's been beneficial to you, that you reinforce that.
Yep.
But if you don't get any and receive any new tools and identify with those things, then what happens is that you do the domino effect
Yeah.
over and over.
So Preston, so I know you kind of jumped into your second term, but
Mhm.
from your first term, you did 3 years, and then how long were you out after that 3 term?
Not even a full, maybe not about a year, and maybe about 15 months.
So during that time, I mean, when you got out, in your mind, did you feel like you were rehabilitated at that time? Like,
I,
man,
you
I
know,
ain't never coming back, or
I didn't have a thought on it. I didn't put, um, I didn't come in, I'm not coming back on it. I didn't say that.
Mhm.
I didn't say I was rehabilitated.
Mhm.
I didn't say that. Um, uh, I was just sharing this story with my wife. It's
Mhm.
funny because when I look back at my ignorance and my incompetence, it's amazing when
Mhm.
you reflect. Right? They had to come get me off the yard my first term. I didn't even know my time of release.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm literally in my basketball game on the gym. Like,
Mhm.
you know how I am.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
You know, and 3 hours, they was hunting me down for 3 hours before I was released. They was, like they about to close the institution down looking for me for the release because
Yeah.
I didn't even have that date. So I'm saying my mind wasn't
Mhm.
on freedom in that capacity, if
Yeah.
I may say.
At that time, your first term, did you do that in Nevada?
I did
Did
that
it
in Nevada,
Okay.
and and I had like 3 different organizations was sought out after me for football
Mhm.
still. And I had appointments to make once I was released
Oh, wow. So
for
they were still interested in you.
yeah, yeah. So I was still sought after, and but my lack of interest was a little low. It wasn't as high as it was when I was young, but I still did the work, but yeah.
When you came home, did you feel that you were a different person? Like,
On the first term?
yeah, on the first term, did you feel like, because all them years prior to your arrest, you were a good dude. I mean,
Yeah.
you were a law-abiding citizen until you got caught up in that craziness. Then you get busted. And I know the institution for a lot of people, it changes a lot of people to the worse.
Mhm.
So did you feel like you were coming home like more with the
Prepared.
criminality, like,
You know
I'm
what?
gonna come out here?
You know what? Again, when I go back to talk
Mhm,
about that
mhm,
first term, again, I didn't do anything but what I was doing on the streets.
mhm,
So, I mean, sad to say, I was still selling maybe weed. I wasn't selling, other drugs, but I was probably I was long sharking. I was playing basketball, lifting weights, doing activities.
mhm,
I never did anything constructive to put my mindset in a pattern to where I was going to be preparing for something when I got out other
mhm,
than sports.
mhm,
I didn't take that initiative.
mhm,
And that was and I learned. It took me years to learn that because it took me years to learn that while I was in the institution, right?
mhm.
So I'm saying it was a sad journey, but it was a blissful journey.
So what happened with these appointments, man? You had like 15 months. You said 15 months out. So and you had these appointments
I
for
mean,
to
it went
play
great.
ball.
It went great. I
So you
mean,
went and actually started playing ball again?
I
Oh,
didn't play. I was still going through the combines and the
mm,
camps. So
okay.
yeah, I was getting asked to go perform and getting some looks and different things. But like I said, it didn't pan out in like I was younger. It didn't
Mm,
pan out like I wanted to pan out. I didn't have my ambition wasn't there as much. My motivation wasn't as high as it used to be. But my pride is always my pride. So my
yeah.
skill set is my skill set.
Yeah.
So, anytime I'm faced with a challenge, I always felt that I prepare myself for that challenge,
Mhm,
whatever that may be. And the sad thing about it, in the criminal world, I didn't think to look at a skill set for longevity
mhm,
until and I wasn't really looking in religious, even
mhm,
though I was a spiritual raised person,
mhm,
I wasn't in that mindset at that time. And so I wasn't thinking negative, I wasn't thinking positive. I was thinking about employment, when I got out at that time. But I deprived my family, and I say this, verbally out loud, because when I left Nevada out of that institution, I went straight to California.
mhm,
And I didn't have I still didn't, take the initiative to try to, rebuild my relationship with my family
mhm.
as I, could have. And yeah, so I was back and forth, and then, like I said, within the 15 months, and I decided, I man, when we thinking about these stories, we thinking about the behaviors, we thinking about the thought processes, we're going through all these schooling we went to. It's just amazing when I reflect on when I went in for my second term,
Mhm,
when I caught my life sentence in California, and I'm going into that because the stressful time I was faced with was when my friend, who happened to be, she wasn't even my girlfriend at the time, but she was a girlfriend for at one time, and she got pregnant, and that's how I got my daughter. But I'm saying that it was a responsibility thing. It was always just me.
mhm,
Now I have somebody that was coming into this world. Now it's like, okay, it's time to man up. Now the thoughts started rambling.
mhm,
And the sad and irony part of that is that I wasn't prepared for that thought. I wasn't prepared for that level of responsibility, but I had skills that can be introduced to help me settle into that.
mhm.
And I didn't, and I had panicked, when I was down here. And that's how I end up falling into my case, that put me into a life sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so that was what year was it that you caught your life sentence?
91.
91? Yeah, that was the same year. Well, I come in mine's 89, but sentence
Yeah,
91.
yeah.
But yeah, so what was that like coming into California, having to go through that chaos?
Oh man,
starting off in a level 4.
nightmare, nightmare. But what could I do? Right? I know who I am. I know who I was as a person. Uh, always been a righteous person. Always, I treat you like I want to be treated. I was that guy, no matter what environment I was in. Um, yeah, so LA County was a different beast. You
Oh yeah,
know,
that's a beast in
it was
itself.
a different beast.
Mhm.
So being in that baboon behavior that we all
He
was.
said baboon behavior.
Yeah, you find ways to learn different defenses and pretty much keep to yourself, and you gravitate to those who's in the same liking that you're trying to move around in.
Yeah.
But people, I always say this, uh men, they know their limits, and that's
Mhm.
a true statement, for me.
Mhm.
You can look in. I don't care if the person is 3 feet tall. You can look in that person and know that's not the person to mess with, right?
Mhm.
And it's just it's a natural thing. So it's I got through it.
Did you face a lot of opposition being in LA, being like not from LA, being from out of state? Like
I
I don't know how it is on the
Yeah,
black side because I
yeah,
know, from the Mexican side, there's a
yeah,
little bit more pressure, but
yeah. It's no, you know what? I didn't. A lot of people gravitated to me.
because
You
your
know,
personality, you're a cool people.
so that was a blessing.
Mhm.
I didn't get too much pushback, but there, as anything, there's always a sense of jealousy somewhere. But I didn't push off that aura of a scent where I was going to challenge you or you
Yeah.
challenge me. Um, I mean, I got in a situation in the county, that could have costed me more time, but God was on my side at that time because He knew I was doing the right thing at the time.
Mhm.
So that was a blissful situation for me to survive that.
Mhm.
But you know, being in the penitentiary in California was, I mean, being in the penitentiary period is strange. I don't hope that and wish that on anybody. Um, but it was a good learning ground
Mhm.
for me. I know I used to reflect back to when my grandmother, she's here with me when things get chaotic. She used to tell me all the time, just be still.
Mhm.
And that's what penitentiary did for me. It helped me to be
Yeah.
still. And so I became a student.
Yeah. And one thing about you that I remember that, I mean, it reflects your character is that, man, as competitive as you were, you know what I mean? And I'll say this, man, me and brother would battle out, when we had different, because we go back to Donovan, and that right there, and he did his time a lot like I did my time, you know what I'm saying? As far as trying to stay away from the nonsense.
Yeah.
We both practice our faith and we spent a lot of time, in the sports,
Hmm.
whether it was
Hmm.
handball,
Yeah.
basketball,
Yeah.
softball, and that just kind of like set your program, when you're focused on that
Yeah.
type of stuff, and you ain't in the little circles with the gossip and the politics, it does make your time a lot easier, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Even though we still got to be aware of our surroundings and
Absolutely.
the baboons around us, as you call us, right?
Right.
But it was like, but one thing that stands out from you and anybody that did time with you could probably remember that you were a peacemaker, bro. I mean, for what it could be. And you, like me, we understand our boundaries, you know what I mean, between them gangsters
Yeah.
and everybody else. But when it comes to race and it comes just to, human common sense and hey man, listen, this could be worked out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not everybody has to try to kill each other behind some
Right.
drug addict burning one race. And now you expect everybody. And the trippy part about that is that so many times that person that started everything had already locked it up. He had already rolled it up and was gone. And now the fire had already
Right.
started and everybody's about to kill themselves
Yeah.
over some nonsense. You know what I mean? And I know that like me, it's the so-called principle and you know and people in there just look for reasons to kick it off, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's
And,
yeah.
and to start burning things and flooding tears and all that crazy stuff that we witnessed, right?
Sad.
But I remember there was a few times, man, where me, you, and James Sykes, and we had to meet and talk to people and tell them, man, you know what? I mean, there was times, I mean, as much as we could be peacemakers, we're like, man, why
Mhm.
can't you guys just deal with this like heads up,
Right, right,
just
right.
deal with it like that instead of,
Because sometimes chaos is what it is.
yeah.
And you have to recognize it for who it is,
Hmm.
and let it be what it is for that moment.
Yeah.
It's strange because when you think about it, you're right. I didn't see the worth in a lot of things that they was doing, right?
Yeah.
So and then I set a precedence about who I am.
Yeah.
So it helped them to see me different too,
Hmm.
and that was a good thing. Because when you sought my advice, that's just what it is, it's just another perception,
Yeah.
another speculation, and I can only give you a different, perception of what it is that you're looking at,
Yeah.
compared to what we're dealing with right now. Because sometimes we so caught up in that moment,
Thinking
and
straight.
you're not thinking straight. And I remember a time when we was over there, and the Southsiders called me out to the yard, and I'm like, what is this, right? And
Mhm.
I knew they was going through something, but to ask me for my advice was
Yeah.
was a privilege to add, to help them see something different than what they
Yeah.
was about to face.
Yeah.
And those little things right there, it gave me it gave me too much influence.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I know exactly
you
what you're
know,
saying.
and it's like, and all I'm doing is the right thing. So when we was even together, when we left Donovan and went to Corcoran, it put
Mhm.
me on a probation period for
Mhm.
4 years to even get in the mentor program. And I was
Mhm.
like, and I didn't find that out until it was time for me to actually go to the mentor program.
Mhm.
What was the holdup? And
Yeah.
anyhow, it's just you be perceived if the perception and institution environment, it can go both ways
Yeah.
depending on how you are as a person of character.
Mhm.
And even like I wasn't a big program officer kind of guy,
Yeah.
though I knew I had to have some kind of relationship because it was other people getting in trouble and I had to talk about it, right?
Mhm.
So I think when people, and you can kind of validate this, is that even there when we was in the institution, I wanted to make sure that people, understood that they was validated despite what the situation
Mhm.
was. And in those moments, if they being heard,
Yeah.
then they have a different understanding of how they see things.
Yeah.
And that was one of the key elements that I really caught on when I started dealing with people on a spiritual base, and
Mhm.
then also, as I walk the yard and people start talking to me about things,
Yeah.
and you
And
start
I
to
think
see.
that's the way people seen you though as a man of wisdom, even though you were a lot younger back then, but they could see that, man, this like I think a lot of people, and I could only speak from the Mexican side, is that people seeing that, you know what, this dude right here is just trying to do his time. He's trying to, just have the program that everybody would probably want without
Yeah,
trying to kill each other and do the crazy stuff, man. Because I remember a lot of time because the way you were on the black side is the way I was on the Mexican side.
yeah,
People knew that I wasn't trying to gain no interest in any kind of way. I wasn't trying to get any kind of money from nobody in any kind of way. And they seen that I'm on the outside looking in, and they were like, what do you think? How should we handle
hmm
this?
hmm
And a lot of times they used to send me to you and James, man. Go talk to them dudes, man, and see if we could
yeah,
come out to the yard and
yeah,
everything's cool.
yeah,
If we could just, if they'll roll up that one dude, we'll squash everything.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
sometimes the blacks would tell me the same thing. Hey, tell us outsiders, if
yeah,
they deal with that dude,
yeah,
then we could continue, and sometimes it worked that way, sometimes it didn't. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? But man, we were there on Corcoran BR for what, like 4 or 5 years?
Too long.
We were there for a long time when it opened, actually.
Yeah, too long.
Yeah, that was
It was a interesting playground.
it was,
Interesting
especially
playground.
in them first few months of it opening, because like I know, shoot, everybody was trying to establish themselves, and
Yeah,
Southsiders had this area, the blacks had this area to work out, these benches, at this time you could use the handball court. It was all this crazy stuff. And then we had the Northerns that were trying to fit in somewhere, and then we had the Bulldogs, and we had
Oh yeah,
the Whites.
we was in a gumbo.
Yeah, we were,
We was in a
man. Yeah,
gumbo.
we were.
But it was a great learning experience after you settled in.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, anything, when you have to settle in and really observe it, it is what it is. Great people we met,
Mm-hmm.
smart people we met. I learned sign language there.
Mm.
That's when I self-taught. I look back and I watched the hearing impaired going through a struggle with the medical department one day, and one of my little Christian Southsider friends, I had just grabbed him up and said, "Man, we're gonna learn sign language." And he was like, "We're gonna learn sign." I said, "Yeah, we're gonna learn sign language." And we went and checked out the book, the dictionary in the library. And from that point on, we started really going through all the A's, all the B's. We were using each other as a mirror. We started learning. And once we got through our alphabetic process and our vocabulary started getting more enhanced, then it was time for us to go talk to the hearing impaired brothers, because what we was missing is understanding the gestures.
Yeah.
So once we started hanging out with them, it made it easier for me to start, translating for the medical department for them, because they wanted, just like anybody else, they just wanted to be a part of that hierarchy and need. They wanted to belong.
Yeah.
And if they're not being heard, then how can they be respected, right?
Yeah.
And it was one of the things that was most disturbing. So I wanted to stop working from behind the wall, going behind that wall, getting naked and carrying on. That was just so I was just
Squatting
tired
in
of
the
that.
coffin.
Yeah, I was so tired of that. So I said I told the correction officers that I'm gonna pitch on this side of the wall, right? And so all the correction officers that was really digging me around, they wanted to try to get me on their I don't know if it's a caseload or workload or whatever, right? But I wanted to go into education. I'm not an educated person. I'm not all that and that, but I wanted to use my skill set of interpreter in the education department. Don't you know, when we was at Corcoran, when you had left to go to the mentorship program, and I had created that program over there with the hearing impaired, they created a pay number for me on that side, which started a trend of assistance in that department. So at least I left them with something, you know what I'm saying? So I felt good about that. I felt good about that.
Let me ask you something, bro. Did you ever feel like you were coming home? Did you have a glimpse of hope? You always had some hope?
Always.
Even when we didn't see nobody going home?
Even when we didn't see anybody going home, I knew that wasn't a place for me. And and quiet as it kept, it's no secret, now. I used to be sitting there plotting all the time, like how I'm gonna escape.
I think all of us had some master plan
master
behind
plan,
our
right.
head.
But I witnessed like 3 other guys before me taking that risk, and it just wasn't working out for them. I said, okay, I gotta revisit this thing. But all the time, I mean, it really dawned on me when I was going through court, when they was talking about the sentencing process. And I was like, damn, they trying to get me. First, they came at me with one deal, which is 20 years. Like 20 years. My frown, I'm like, what you don't have, I'm started recapping things in my head. What do they have? What do they have? I'm like, nah, this can't happen. Never came back with me with another deal. It was just all life after that. So I was like, wow. So I got a lawyer in on that case. But I say that to say is that when I was going through that whole process, I just knew it wasn't for me to be there. It was just for me to get something from it. I knew that. I knew it was for me to get something from that experience, if I can survive it, that I can be able to utilize that when I come home. And I don't know when that may be. Everybody was pitching for me. Everybody was talking about how soon I might go home, what my case, but it was just a day-by-day process with me. But I knew I was going home.
You know what? I bet you hundreds of people on that yard wouldn't have even assumed you were doing life, bro. because you
Yeah.
always had a smile. I'm not saying you were just like some happy go dude, but
Yeah.
you didn't have that frown. You didn't have that bitterness. You didn't have that like, life sucks. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Like for reals, I would have thought you were in there for drunk driving or something. The way like shoot, I'm getting out soon. That
Yeah.
I mean, but I understand because I was the same way. We
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
we had a spiritual belief within us that there was something greater than ourselves. And I think even before we started the mentorship, we
Yeah.
were already
Yeah.
helping people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
just a part of who we were.
Exactly. And it started from the chapel.
Hmm.
And that was a good playground for us to be able to kind of help people understand and get more insightful in who they are, through propagating information through the word and things of that nature so they can get more relative to who was going on with their struggle.
Hmm.
And that helped when I walked the yard, so I'm
Yeah.
getting different kind of conversations
Yeah.
prior to, whole boy stole the sugar, you
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, type thing, right?
Yeah. That one
So
right there.
yeah, yeah. So it was just a great experience for me.
Yeah.
But when we was there and then we get launched into the mentorship program, that was new because that was right front therapy.
Yeah.
That became real for me because it was a turning point.
It
It was the
was.
it was the turning point that, success is before you, but it's you who's in the way.
Yeah.
And James was a big part of that, helping me see some things, even in my spiritual realm,
Yeah.
because I came sharp. At least I can say I thought I
Yeah.
was sharp, but I was always sought and seeking out others like Gumby or something, right? I
Hmm.
was just seeking out, okay, who is the person that I can, lean on that can bring something because you don't want never want to be the smartest person in the room,
Yeah.
you know, and you don't, and sadly to say, he was probably the smartest person in the room, in most cases. But it's like, he could challenge me,
Yeah.
in other words, but in his challenge though, he knew that I had a foundation,
Hmm.
so you just couldn't just give me anything
Yeah. Yeah.
because even in our spiritual quest, you know, um, being in Islam, I could read it, I can read Arabic,
Hmm.
I can write Arabic. So it is hard for him to push things over on me
Yeah.
because I can go insightful with some things
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I understand the language at that point. Um, but it was just so powerful how we can put the etiquettes into his manifestation,
Yeah. Yeah.
in preparation to come home.
Yeah, and James, man, James was, I mean, he challenged my brain constantly,
Oh yeah,
a lot of like integrity stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
and help me with my anger and stuff like that, man. And it was crazy. Man, when we went over to that yard, though, tell me it was like we're not in Kansas no more. Like, hey, bro, I don't know if I ever shared with you because I went to that yard, what, probably about 2 years before you, huh?
Yeah,
You went in what year? 2002, 2003?
three.
Okay, so yeah, I went in 2000, and when I went, or was it 2001? I think 2001. And when
Mhm.
I went, I tried to roll it up from that yard. I did. I remember when I was challenged to share my story,
Yes,
and I ran my story, and I cried. I cried in
yes,
front of a group of guys when I started talking to my mom and her having cancer and
correct.
she forgetting who I was. And um, I was like, man, because all the guilt and the
Toughest thing
shame,
to do.
everything was coming back up. And prior to that yard, I've never shared that story. I don't think I've ever cried. You know what I'm
Who
saying?
who shared this story? Like,
Yeah, that wasn't
yeah,
normal.
I mean,
We might share a little bit about what we got busted while we're here, but
yes,
the smallest of details and not put a lot of emotions in it. But here I am for the first time, really sharing my story from the heart. And I get to the part about my mom and her cancer, how it just jacked me up because my mom was my world.
it's a difficult process.
And when that happened, though, after that happened, I went back. And you know, it's a trip. Right after I was done, a lot of the fellas came up to me, hugging me, like, man, I
Mhm,
feel you, bro.
mhm,
Like
mhm,
that happened to me, man. And
mhm,
man, God bless you, man. Hang in there and
mhm,
things are gonna be all right, man. You're doing good for your mom. Your mom be proud of you. All
mhm.
this
Yeah,
stuff. later on that night, though, man, I felt so vulnerable. I was like, these fools see me cry. They're going to try to take advantage of me now. Now I'm going to have to hurt somebody. You know, all these crazy thoughts, man. And
Yeah.
first thing the next morning, I bagged up my stuff, man. I said, I'm gone. I'm going back to B yard. I tried to go over there and tell him, send me back to B. I went to the program office and told him, man, send me back to B yard, man. I don't want to be here no more.
Yeah.
And I was convinced. I was like, I don't want to be here no more.
Yeah.
And when the I forget his name, Captain Allen, I think he was.
Yeah.
He starts telling me, he said, no, you ain't going back to B yard. We'll send you to the hole if you want. I said, let's do it.
Yeah.
I preferred going to the hole instead of staying on that yard and working on myself.
Image is tough. Image is tough, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, sadly, but fortunately for me, I always been a crybaby. So, you know, that's the area of vulnerability that, you know, I overcame in knowing who I am, you know, that part. But it didn't make the situation any easier because it was the areas that, you know, you really reflect on.
Yeah.
And you can't, you know, you gurgitate it up, you know,
Yeah.
it becomes difficult. And I remember, you know, just like to your point, you know, us trying to tell our story, I didn't get past 10 minutes. And this is supposed to have been what, an hour and a half presentation, they
At
say,
least,
right?
yep.
You know, and I couldn't get past 10 minutes. So, you know, so it was just peeling that layer each time I did push through,
Yeah.
you know, peeling that layer to get in that place where, okay, I'm building up my emotional stamina and getting past it and learning from each layer and then getting more and more honest about myself, you know, in that situation, you know, and then that helps me to come truthful to the circumstances that I was facing, you know,
Yeah.
some things. So, you know, when you start running your story, you know, things start jumping up in there that is unexpected.
Yeah.
And that becomes the scariest part of it,
Yeah, it
you
does.
know, because now that's when the vulnerability becomes so real where it's the truth or dare part starts to take place.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
you know what's crazy, brother Preston, is that I thought I was just going, you know, like I said earlier, we have been helping people on other yards for littlest things. Like you were saying, you know,
Yeah.
trying to learn the sign language. I
Yeah.
remember helping some of the Paisa brothers write letters home because they didn't know
Yes.
how to write. I didn't know how to write in Spanish.
Yeah.
I mean, I could barely understand Spanish, yet alone write Spanish, yet alone like really write good English either. You know what I'm saying?
Right, I understand.
And here I am trying to help people write letters because I didn't realize how many people are in there that are totally illiterate, that they don't know how to write at all. You know
And
what
that
I'm
was
saying?
part of it. You know, when you start understanding your environment a little
Yeah.
bit more, you start understanding the behaviors that came with that because now
Yeah.
you're starting to defend a lot of different things.
Yeah.
When you, I mean, there go the insight, right? Instead of judging it, you start embracing it. And then when you embrace it, then you don't see them for the color what they, you know, you start seeing the vulnerabilities in which they're faced with that put them in that situation. Because image is everything.
Yeah.
Perception is what led us there.
Yeah.
We worried about how we being perceived.
Yeah. And when I'm over there, you know, on the Walton House and stuff, I thought, like I was saying, I thought we were just going to go over there and start helping people. I didn't know that I would have to start working on self first before I could help them. I had to help myself. And all them years, man, I had just stuffed all these feelings and all these beliefs and all, you know, and then Walton House I hated Walton House in the beginning because it was like they were pulling out so much stuff from me that I had thought I had just gave it to God, but never really dealt with it. You know what I'm saying? By faith, I was like, okay, God, you forgive me. I'm forgiven. That's it. And I don't need to work on nothing else. But all along, though, man, I had just put a band-aid on a lot of issues. And not to say that I doubted that God didn't forgive me or that he, you know, I was a new man or anything like that. But there was so many issues that I had with my dad. You know, a lot of grief and loss that I'd never dealt with. There was a lot of just like insecurities and all these masks that we had talked about. You know, we put on all these different masks to get by from one place to another place, where I started realizing, man, this ain't me. You know what I'm saying? All these years, man. And
it's a challenge.
It's a challenge because a part of that mask was even my Christian mask, because even in there, I had to like, you know, it's a certain, and when I say a mask, I'm not saying that it was fake or anything like that,
No, I know.
but it was like, there was still a lot of things that I wasn't crossing. There was a lot of barriers, I would say,
Yeah.
that I still wasn't crossing and wasn't dealing with. And Walden House had a way of like putting it all on the surface. Say, okay, this is who you are.
Right.
What part do you want to deal with?
You're right.
You know what I'm
I think
saying?
I think it, it took us to be in a setting of individuals who was willing to not accept what we had to offer.
Mm, yeah.
And when they didn't accept what we had to offer, it had us to think different than what we was used to thinking.
Mhm.
And that challenged our emotional places. You
Yep.
know,
Mhm.
it made us go to the feeling charts. You know, it helped us to be more articulate in some things too.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, we was fearful of a lot of things. You know,
Mhm.
even to this day, we still trying to deal with. But the accomplishment was that we obtained some tools
Yeah.
to kind of gravitate us, and it took us away from certain images that allowed us not to be able
Yeah.
to reach out to a brother to
Yeah.
say, "Hey, man, this is what's
Yeah.
going on," and that's important too.
Yeah.
So at Walden House, it birthed me.
Yeah.
You know,
It was like a new it was
right?
like a new spiritual birth thing.
It birthed me. You know,
Yeah.
it's a trip because being under the tutelage of James Rubin,
Mhm.
going through that little orientation process of my therapy, and then when it was time to kind of use my skill set to assist another group of individuals,
Mhm.
they lust me into my own cluster, which was good.
Mhm.
I was all ready for it, but it was but James helped me to build a flow for
Mhm.
introduction,
Mhm.
if I may. And one part of that flow was to create a presentation
Mhm.
to present in the cluster, and then leave that simulation over there, and then come back and do some workshops.
Yeah,
Build so
yeah.
I'm building an outside relationship with
Building
them,
community.
and without being in their community.
Yeah.
And but here's the irony. It's so funny because when I think about it, because my first presentation that I did over there was a 2-hour presentation on baboon behavior.
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember when James used to do it,
I
and
remember.
then so I went and did some more research on that,
Mhm.
and I was doing some things, and I said, "Oh yeah, this is some good stuff right here," because it's a reflection tool.
Yeah.
It helped, and it's the irony of that particular presentation when I acted out, giving them the scenario.
Yeah, being caught
I'm
in the
I'm all on the staircase, acting like a chimp and stuff, showing them the different analogies that's going on, right?
Yeah.
And and what took place is that in all these guys, all 70, whatever they were,
Mhm.
right, got pissed off at me. F you, Preston. That ain't me. Yeah, I didn't never point nobody out, right? And I
Yeah.
was like, wow, this is interesting, right? Me being who I am,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, this is some good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we in a good therapeutical place where
There's engagement.
it's an engagement because you took ownership of something in this presentation without nobody even pointing the finger at you.
Mhm.
So that's a place where we had to take a look at
Yeah.
why are you holding that guilt in that place?
Yeah.
And it just helps us to kind of navigate it, man.
Yeah.
It's a trip,
It's like all them different things that we learned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the Johari window,
man.
and you start like really thinking about ourselves, who we are, the way people look at us,
Yeah,
all the way we're affecting other people.
man.
I remember the same like you, man. When we tried, when me and Randy and James were the first two. I mean, besides some of the Andre, I don't know if you ever met Andre and whatnot, but there was a
Yeah, I
couple of
met Andre
people. There was a
because he
couple.
came back over to B yard. So yeah,
Oh yeah, he
yeah,
got rolled up. Yeah.
mhm. Some
So
things happen.
when we got there, though, James and Randy were like the first ones, and man, it was chaos over there. And nobody wanted a program.
I know,
Nobody was trying to do
but
no
but they
really treatment. You know what I'm saying?
we sent the right person.
Yeah, James and Randy, man, and plus a couple of them what were they called? Long term mentors or
Because
something
that's
like
what
that.
Andre was.
Yeah. And I remember when I got there, I was like, what did I sign up for, man? What is going on here? There was so much resistance. We tried to call a morning meeting. Man, they were throwing the bench off the second tier. I'm like, where's the bench at? It would be in someone's room, throwing it off the tier. you're trying to present something, everybody's talking,
Yeah.
nobody's listening, everybody like, man, nobody trying to hear that. Sit
Yeah.
down. The providers were no help. They were scared. I mean,
Yeah.
they were scared as heck,
Yeah.
you know. And I remember going to Vika and telling her, man, I said, I can't do this, man. These grown men, they are not trying to work on self. They do not want this treatment stuff, you know. And I remember Vika told me something that just blew my mind. She said, Jojo, start with one person.
Mhm.
Feed that person everything you believe, everything that's within you, you know, in regards to the process of change, man, feed into that person.
Mhm.
And then once you get that person to buy in, then you work on another one. And that's what me and Randy started doing, man. And you know, during our early years there in Corcoran, man, in the Walton House, I remember that's what we started doing, man. And I
Mhm.
remember we were very strategic
Mhm.
and trying to race balance everything. I'm like, I'm gonna work on this, brother. You work on that, brother. And we're
Mhm.
gonna build it. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? We're gonna build this.
Mhm.
And I started understanding about we need a deposit before we could withdraw from people. So I started, you know,
Mhm.
pouring my life into people, and people started like engaging. And before long, in morning meeting, that's all I was like, hey, can you read the
Mhm.
sports
Mhm.
page
Mhm.
for us
Mhm.
today?
Mhm.
Can you give us a word for today?
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, we got 2 people right now. We're
Mhm.
good out of all
Mhm.
50, 80 people, whatever we had. I said, we got 2 volunteers right
That's how
now.
it start.
We're rolling. And the
That's how it
next
start.
day, was able to get someone else and someone else.
That's how it
And
start.
before long, we were able to yell out group in the middle of the night and circle up and
That's how
process
it
some
go.
feelings. We were able to get some people in there to talk about some real addictive behaviors, criminal behaviors,
You
and
know,
and you know what though, Preston? Let me tell you this before I forget. I was afraid to buy in to all the support stuff
okay.
because I didn't believe that I was going to parole from that yard. I thought eventually I was going to end up on some other main line
Okay.
where word was going to get out that we were over here doing this recovery thing in prison, and it probably wouldn't be accepted in some other prisons.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
was afraid to buy in. I
Hmm.
was afraid to buy in for a while.
Okay.
But then I was like, you know what, man? I'm being a big old hypocrite right here, man, with these beliefs, but trying to tell other people to change their lives where I'm not trying to change my life in this aspect.
Mhm.
I already changed my life. I'm a born again Christian. I'm
Mhm.
cool. I'm not gang banging. I'm good.
You
But
you know what made it easier for me is that, when I sought out information from James, you know, being in our religious base,
mhm,
he would share with me the correlations of things
mhm,
that brings about the association of different tools that we was using
yeah.
that helped me understand my work, so it made it easier for me to be the example for them. And again, deposit. And
Mhm,
my deposit is I had to show the work that I was asking, that I was futurely going to be asking,
yeah.
that I'm willing to do
Yeah.
first,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
I'm not gonna
And
ask you to do something I ain't willing to do myself.
yeah. So, and when they started seeing that, and then guilt jumps in, it normally is the first thing that jumps in, right? Um, and with the guilt, they want to associate themselves on how they can participate with you.
Mhm.
And that's where permission is asked.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, everything has to be with a permission.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where the acceptance take
Yeah.
place.
And what that looks like for the viewers and what we're talking about, you know, you ask somebody, man, can I share something with you? And
Yes.
once they say, yeah, man, share with me.
Yes.
And then that opens the doors, man. And that builds
Yes.
relationship, that brings trust, that brings
Yeah.
accountability, and that brings community.
I used to scrub showers, and when I first opened up a community, I used to scrub the shower,
Double
and
scrub.
yeah, double scrub, but it'd be just me in the shower, just scrubbing the shower,
Mhm.
and I get a lot of spectators. Why are you scrubbing the shower? I said, because I want to shower in this. Don't you want to shower in something clean? You come to this shower before you go to any other shower because it's the cleanest one. Am I correct?
Yep. Yep.
Here, take this, man. Get that one out the way so we can have two to work with. And it's just like, letting them know that there's no
Yeah.
rush,
Mhm.
and it's gonna be okay. You're not gonna be judged behind this. People gonna see you in a different light, no doubt, but they're gonna see you in a more respectable light if you just do it.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to push kids and push them guys through something that they wasn't accustomed to, and they just wanted to belong. You
Yeah.
know, they just wanted to belong. But to your work, but Walden House introduced us to a lot of different things, especially I know it did for me.
Mhm.
It gave me a birth of understanding when that time come for my parole that I have an idea. Um, I didn't have that idea of coming out to work immediately though.
Mhm.
When I got blessed with the opportunity to come home in 2010, my mission was to really fulfill my obligation of education, trying to get my degree out the way. I had just finished up my associates when I was at corporate. Um, so I wanted to finish up and get my bachelor's because I told my mom I'd do that. And that was my mission. But also because I was behind Ruben, I said, well, I'm gonna be a pioneer for the brothers behind me and to find all the hot spots so they won't have to deal with this chaos
Yeah.
and getting them prepared for their workforce development type
Mhm.
workforce thing. So it was interesting because I ran across some real beautiful people, Joe Paul being one of them. He was one of my mentors. He was my first mentor. Then I started doing a few things with the county. Then I had an opportunity to do a reentry program with the feds, running theirs with Jane Akala. I got to meet some beautiful people as I was going through this thing. Really wasn't starting off no work. I wasn't trying to work yet, but it led to employment.
Mhm.
Gregory Burks ended up launching me into something, employment down in a Skid Row. That was the launch and birth of that process. And so I wanted to get back in school again to try to finish my bachelor's. So I ended up going to hypnotherapy, which got my stuff out of default. And I ended up becoming a hypnotherapist. Freaking who would imagine, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but it was I was a skeptic because I would believe me when I say yeah, and I was freaking out too, right? So it was an adventure, but it it was a great it was another great learning playground. And I mean that to say is that because my major is in psychology and it allowed me to really see more in the behavior patterns of other people through this tool, because that's all it was another tool to help reinforce and reshape some things with other people that they may be going through.
Mhm.
And I was like, wow, this is interesting. So it gave me more insightful teachings and stuff like that. So I ended up getting that. Then I got back in school to get my bachelor's, got my bachelor's,
That's right.
knocked that out. Then they came at me with a master's program. Um, man, went and got my master's in psychology, majored in business and sports management,
Mhm.
and just kept it moving, man. And really waiting on my team. I got Sean out here; he's doing my
That's right.
magnificent things and wonderful things in the workforce. Joe, he taught us everything about workforce development. Never thought for 1 second, because I did get my drug and alcohol counselor certification when I
Mhm.
was in the institution and came out and all that, but I let it relapse and I had all the hours and I had all the things to do the things, right?
Yeah.
But it was just when I think about some of the teachings,
Mhm.
Joe was the first one who actually kind of drilled us into understanding employment movement, you know, and marketing people to and being better prepared in how to seek out employment.
Mhm.
So, when I was working with Shields for family for them, and I did the job readiness
Mhm.
program, what happened is that I created a language, what we're doing is we hunting for employment. We're
Mhm.
not looking for employment.
Yeah.
So what's the difference is that you have a certain particular skill set and a thing that you like to do, then we want to carve and put things around that. So you need to find out what field it is that tailors to that and what organization or company that fulfills that, and then we go to that. So,
Yeah.
those things was some of the things that I introduced to them that I enjoyed building off of. But school was my mission,
Yeah.
and now today, my one of and I'm surprised you didn't get a chance to meet who's my partner today. He's the CEO of Dream Live Hope. When we came up with that, with Dream Live Hope Foundation, man, it was the same line of work in which you was talking about earlier. You know, assisting people with housing.
Mhm.
You know, dealing with the youth, um, helping them understand, and then we incorporated our curriculum with emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, financial literacy. You know, those things become idle tools that we needed to be able to incorporate so that people can just be able to kind of navigate themselves through struggles.
Mhm.
Because that's what's been happening when we have people in our transition home. We notice a lot of the absent part is that, you know, they're not being challenged with certain areas of how they can deal with their family issues.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, life is life, and here we are today.
Let me see. Hold on real quick. Let
Mm.
me we're gonna open up the lines for some calls. See
Oh,
if
some
any
calls.
we got a couple of people watching right now, man. So we're gonna open it up, see who's
Some
all out there.
calls.
Just let me not make sure that I don't have my call. I got caller ID blocked and stuff, so I gotta make sure.
This guy here.
Yeah, because I get too many calls, so it's good though. So yeah, so right now, if you're watching, go ahead and call in. The numbers on the screen, right? Numbers on the screen. Call in that number, man. If you would like to leave, oh shoot, look at I got it on do not disturb. Hold on. Look at see, I had it on do not disturb. Let me take that off. Okay, we are good. Go ahead. If you called right now, go ahead, call back because I had it on do not disturb because I'll tell you it'll be just going off, man. But man, Preston, man, I am so stoked, man, to where you're at and where a lot of our brothers are, man, that we're
Yeah.
doing all day. You know, when I asked you that question, man, did you think, I didn't think I was coming home, bro. For reals. I
Mm.
didn't, man, because I just seen so many people that have been down when I was there, 20, 30 years,
Yeah.
and hearing from some of them OGs, like, man, and especially during Pete Wilson, Greg
Oh yeah, yeah,
Davis, they
yeah,
were
yeah.
like, yeah, you're doing
Yeah.
life. The only way you're coming home is a box. You know what I
Mm.
mean? That was all over the news. That was in the newspaper. And you know us, man, we be looking at it and just looking at it and be like, man. And then you hear about all these people that would get found suitable, but then the governor take their dates and
Yeah.
no, I didn't know nobody going home. Nobody, I knew one lifer that went home only because of appeals. His appeals, they got overturned and they dropped his case. You know what I mean? That was the only reason why he went home.
Yeah. I'm like you. I didn't know anyone until the 2000 to 19.
How did you feel when I got paroled?
I was excited.
You were like, what?
I was excited. You know, shortly, maybe before you, Anthony got paroled. Anthony McDougal got paroled, and on his first, and it was like, you know, I knew it was happening.
Mm-hmm.
It
You
just,
knew, okay, that was it. As long as one goes,
yeah,
it's opening the
I
doors.
knew it was happening. You know, and if and, again, you know, when we look at who was doing the walk, who was doing the work, who was doing, it was just a matter of time. You know, that's just how I seen it. You know, just keep doing what you're doing. You know, your higher power sees your work. Um, Stay diligent in your walk. You know, and believe in what it is you do. You
Yeah.
know, and work towards your goals and have goals. You know, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be all right. So yeah, I thought the world. I knew it was going to be great. You know, when I seen you go, I was like, okay, yeah, it's happening.
It was crazy when I went back. You remember I went back like probably like 4 months after I got out. I went right back. Remember, I went to I went to like a family day in the visiting room. I went back to the yard. I remember the first time I went back, I had butterflies so bad because I was like, oh my God, I was still on a high control parole when I went back in.
Yeah,
How crazy is that?
it's crazy, but that's the power.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the power.
I was like, when they told me, I think it was Wayne that told me, it was like, hey, the warden up at Corrigan wants you to come back. And I was like, come back? What do you mean come back? What? He said, no, they're having a family day
Yeah,
and he wants you to go to the yard. And
yeah,
I was like, I haven't even accomplished nothing yet, though. I'm still in treatment. Like,
yeah,
how am I gonna? What do
yeah,
I gotta go tell them? Yeah,
yeah.
And sure enough, though, it was kind of me just like reinforcing
That
aftercare.
it,
You know what I'm
there you
saying? Oh,
go.
let's get this real quick. Hello, are you on? Hold on. Don't hang up. Don't hang up. Don't hang up. Stay right there if you could hear me. Hold on. I hate it. The first call is always like that. Hold on 1 second. All right, let me do.
Another time.
Hello, hey, this is JoJo with Trap No More. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, brother. I just was told by my aunt to check out this podcast. He's in fact Hakeem James' sister, my auntie.
Oh, James,
Okay.
brother James, yeah. So your
Yeah,
auntie's
when you know,
Rose. Your auntie's Rose.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
My he's my uncle. Although I'm 75. Long, you know that you figured the numbers out on that one, but he's my uncle. But I called to thank you guys for mentioning his name, Preston for mentioning his name.
Yes.
I really was impressed what he had to say, and I really wish him the best of luck. And I just enjoy listening to him. Good brother, and I
Man.
hope everything works out for all these brothers incarcerated. In fact, I took a couple of pictures when I went to Corcoran. I don't know when it was with my aunt, but it was some time ago before James was released.
Mhm.
Okay.
But as you know, he previously passed away.
We were there at his services.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
actually
think you look.
spoke there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember your face because we were
Oh,
right there at the memorial with the soldiers. Anyway,
Right.
but yeah, I just wanted to call in and give my props and respect to both of you. Love this podcast and hope to listen to it much more.
well,
Thank
thank you, man. Thank you. And your uncle was, I mean, man, he was a mentor to me and Preston.
Man.
I mean, in more ways than one, man.
Yes.
And let me tell you, from the Christian perspective, getting this wisdom from my Muslim brother, and James was
Uh huh.
my brother, man. I mean, he was closer to me
Uh huh.
probably than some of my own blood. I mean, that's how close we were.
Yeah.
And
Uh
James taught me a lot on how to be a man and how to be a soldier at the same time. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And and,
Right.
and what I
Right.
mean by that is, how to stay strong in my personal faith, and this is coming from a Muslim brother. And I know the
Yeah.
Wow.
world, the
Right.
world,
Right.
the world tries to tell us that we should be enemies, and
Yeah.
we have these so much differences, but I could firsthand say, man, that James would have laid down his life for me if need be,
Yeah.
and that's how much
I I
that's how
I,
much faith
I
I
believe
have.
that.
That's how much faith I have in that brother. That brother
Yeah.
would have gave me his shirt off his back,
Yeah.
if I
I
needed
believe
a
that.
shirt, man.
Yeah. I believe that. That's our family. My aunt, his sister, just texted me to tell me how proud she was of him, and
Oh,
Yeah.
kind of touched me.
Yeah, man.
mhm.
James was, I mean, he was a great man to many
Mhm.
people, man. I mean,
Absolutely.
he touched more lives than we could name, man. I mean, it would be ridiculous for us to try to put a number, on how many
Yeah.
people he
Yeah.
helped change lives.
That makes
Uh huh.
sense.
I'm talking about breaking the strongholds of addiction and criminality and helping
Right.
people
Right.
get stronger in their faith. And yeah,
Correct.
man, your uncle was a great dude, man, and
Yeah.
he surely is missed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure he is. We miss him all greatly. And he, talking to his sister Marianne, my aunt, she told me a lot about him, what he was doing inside there and helping brothers and whatnot. And I could tell that when we all, when we all drove up there to see him some years ago, maybe 20 years ago, I don't remember, but all the sisters, well, not all of them, a few of them, and myself drove up there, and I took some pictures with some guy. I don't think it was Preston, but could be. I don't know.
Probably
But
Yeah.
Ruben. It might
yeah,
have been Ruben or
Probably.
or Preston.
Yeah. I was there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, well, could have been because I met some nice,
yeah.
very nice brothers that he introduced me to. I was totally impressed.
Yeah. Man, I was launched into James' life in 99, 98. I lived down
98.
90.
Yeah, I think that's when he went to Cork.
Yeah.
That's when
Yeah.
that's
Around
when he was in Cork in
99.
98.
That's about the time. Let's see, 94. Yeah, it was in the 90s for sure.
We was there in 99. That yard wasn't open too long.
Yeah.
It was just jumping us
Yeah, it
in
was
there.
just a sad to see him go like he did, just so unexpectedly, because he had a lot more to offer, a lot more to do on this earth. But
Yeah.
listening to you makes me feel good that he did help and talk to a lot of brothers to get them on the right side, or whatever the case may be, to help them. And I appreciate your podcast, and I
Yeah.
appreciate you both.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
welcome, man. Let me just say this one last thing though about your uncle though, man, is that he didn't forget where he came from, man, because when he passed, he was working back in the prisons, helping people
Yeah.
in the same
Exactly.
circumstances. You know what I mean? A lot of people run from that past. They'd be like, man, I don't want to see no correctional officer ever again in my life.
Hey, he used to call me all the time
Mhm.
about the position, and for me to call Wayne. he
Yeah, he
called
tried to
me.
recruit me too.
He
Yeah.
be
I was like, I'm
trying to,
good.
but yeah, I was good too. It wasn't my calling.
Yeah.
Though
Yeah.
it could have been.
Mhm.
But he was just it was
Wow,
definitely
that's
his
great.
calling.
Did he ever tell you that our family is related to Jackie Robinson?
Yeah, he did. He mentioned that to me.
Yeah, I
I
thought
mean,
so.
I
I
was like
thought
his
so.
right hand guy, so
Okay,
I
okay,
mean for
right hand. Huh?
years. So I mean,
Yeah, okay.
I'm not just
Well, I'm glad you we hung out with him, man. And had a
yeah,
good chance to really meet the brother. I miss him dearly.
Let me tell you, you talking about 24/7. That's what we lived with him. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I mean,
Right, right.
I mean, it's hard not to get close to somebody
correct.
where you see them every day around the clock. And as we were sharing in the podcast, your uncle, he was a peacemaker in an evil
Uh-huh.
place, man.
Right,
And
Hmm.
that's
right.
very unheard of. You know what I'm saying? And your
Just trust me,
uncle,
I know.
yeah, he was definitely, I mean, he was, he was a devout Muslim, and
Fearless.
he was a peacemaker.
Yeah.
He was
Right,
most
right.
definitely. And I think a lot of people from across the board in all different races, man, they respected that about him.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And
that was beautiful. All colors. I love
yeah,
it.
yeah, and he
Yeah,
did. He
I had it.
he
Mhm.
he did bring a lot of unity to a lot of men, man, that could have easily killed each other.
I
Easily.
believe that, I
Yeah.
believe it because I had, when I was a younger man in college, in the Pan African department, we toured different prisons. I think Chino was one, another one, I can't remember, but actually got a chance to go inside and see how it was really operating, what was going on. I think I know it was a girlfriend of mine's cousin or something, but I was just totally blown away as a young man. Of course, I had a different headset then. My mind was like totally militant. I don't know if I could have survived those kind of circumstances that you guys had to deal with, man. Just amazing.
Well, we learned to adapt to our environment, and
That's what you do.
Yeah, I
You
guess
have
you
yeah,
to
have to.
adapt.
and we
Yeah.
were, myself and Preston, we were very spiritual, and depending upon a power greater than ourselves, and
Right,
that was
right.
our
You
that
need
was our
that.
driving force,
Yeah.
to get
Yep.
us through it all.
That's that's what you need. That spiritual guidance, the guidance of whatever you think is right for your guidance, and get you through all that stuff. But I'm proud of you, brother.
Well,
Thank you,
thank you,
brother.
brother. Thank you for calling in, and thank you for the support, man. Much love.
All right, brother.
Happy
Love
New
you
Year to
guys.
you
Happy New
too,
Year's
brother.
to you.
Okay.
All
Happy
right,
New
brother.
Year.
You
Yes,
too.
sir.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
bro. Peace.
Yeah, that was cool.
Man.
Yeah, man.
Journey. It's a journey. I think about, some of the things we're doing out here and, as a token to some of the things that we talked about doing while we was in there,
Yeah.
in the giving back process. And the irony of it was that I
Mm-hmm.
never knew what that would look like. I never knew what that looked like. And so when me and Kevin we talked and we was trying to look at it, and I knew he had some things going on that he can launch, and we started off with the housing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we launched Dream Live Hope, that was our foundation. We was trying to do the stop thing. They was taking us through a journey that it didn't make any sense, with the various permits and stuff like that, and so we had to go again a long route to even manifest that.
Mm-hmm.
But when we looked at each other, the first thing we have is that we don't close the doors.
Yeah.
From 2017 to 2021, I would want to say we didn't have a contract,
Mm-hmm.
but we never said no, and we never turned nobody away.
Yeah.
So this just goes to show you the power of how your higher power tends to work in your favor when you're doing things that's necessary for the
Yeah.
population.
Yeah.
So it's just been a blissful journey. We starting to manifest in a lot of other areas. One thing tends to lead to the next. You start to be more innovative in certain areas and how you can be of more service. And you have to think, how does that work for you?
Yeah.
you know. So
And,
we're in a great place
yeah.
right now.
And right now, Preston, you're getting ready to launch something in regards to a youth center or something?
Yes, we actually obtained this building in Inglewood, where we be having our community youth center. It's 430, I want to say 430 East Kelso Street, off of it's between Kelso and Spruce Street. We right there by the Forum and SoFi Stadium.
Okay.
But we're so excited about this space. Oh my gosh, we can't seem to stop talking about this space. I guess anything new to you is to be something worth being excited about because it's the stepping stone to the new beginnings, whatever
Yeah.
that may be. But we got big dreams, big hope for it. We looking to do a few things with the children and the community kids and adults for that matter. That's why it's a community center. So
Mhm.
we're really looking at how can we spread the services and with our partners through there. One of the things we want to do is build our mentorship program out of that particular arena into our youth program. We got our youth program is launched into our second year now. Push for peace. We've been pushing that, and we're trying to go online, international with that. So we're just excited about a few things, man. We're biting the bullet. It's not like we making any money in this thing. You know how this thing go.
Yeah.
But whatever we get, we want to make sure that we broaden the horizon for this youth. So with this community, it's 24 hours. It's a 24 hours youth center. We're looking to launch in January. We also, got a youth advisory for this so that we can get feedback on what's their needs, some of the things that they desire to be in there. So we got washer and dryer, we got some of the community things when we think about the homeless department, the homeless services arena, because youth is big now. We're really excited about providing whatever is necessary out of there. We still give our curriculum. We have a classroom. So man, we just, it's just gonna evolve.
Yeah.
I can't wait to have you guys come out and just do a tour, come look at it and come see what kind of space it is and utilize it,
Yeah.
because it's for the community.
That's what's up.
Yeah. I mean, we building out a staff, uh you just don't know where you're gonna go. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying, when you start something.
Yeah.
God just trying to take you down these paths and he surround you with all these beautiful people. And as long as you build your culture into it, what you want it to look like, and you stay firm to it, then things start manifesting itself as it go because each one teach one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
we excited. Dream Live Hope Foundation. We really excited about
That is so cool.
it. Yeah.
Man, we are an hour and a half into today's
Okay.
podcast. And
Good.
man, I appreciate you, Preston, man, for reals, man, because I know that you really have a heart and a passion for helping people, man. And I know, man, I know that you're in the right place, man, and what you're doing.
Man, I just think about everybody really, I think about the other JoJo, I think about everybody that's doing the work, and how far everybody came, doing the work.
Yeah.
And it's not a surprise.
Yeah.
The individuals that's in the field that's doing it, it's not a surprise that their area of level of success is what it is because they put in the work for themselves. And that's a proud moment right there
Yeah.
when you was a part of that litter.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. I think about all of us as well,
Yeah.
very, very often, when I think about like, man, just to think, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, when I was thinking about you and I was sharing with my son, I was sharing with my wife, just like I was like, this is a good brother, man, that it's rare that you come across. I mean, the whole thought of meeting good people in prison,
Yeah.
is there anyone really good in
Right,
prison?
right,
You know
right,
what I'm
right.
saying? And yeah, especially, the stereotype, everybody thinks, yeah, you Mexican, he black. How could you guys actually be cool? How can,
Right.
but you know what? It comes back to where, it's just your values that you shared as a young man growing up and what you were taught and you carried yourself with them values coming in,
Yes.
man. You didn't let the system like overtake you to
Yes.
a place
I
where you
was
became a monster. And that happens to some
It
people.
does, it
Yeah.
does. I've seen it,
Yeah.
and for me, it didn't seem necessary.
Yeah.
I knew who I was as a person. Um, you have that. You hear people talk about, well, you put your pants on the same way I do and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, but how many people really,
Mhm.
have that faith
Mhm.
in it? You know what I'm saying? And for me, it was just, it is what it is. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna tell me,
Yeah.
how I'm gonna be me.
Yeah.
That was the part of that I wanted to make sure I come out of, despite what direction it may take me. Because if I could have held on to just who I am as a person, and what principles that was embedded in me from my development, from my grandparents and my mom and my dad, that was all I had to hold on to, right?
Yeah.
So, with that, I just couldn't go in and just all of a sudden just be transforming into the environment of the baboons just to be associated or to be accepted,
Yeah.
because I wasn't trying to be accepted of that anyway,
Mhm.
so and I wasn't accepted of that around me. So, you learn to bring the gaps and make the space,
Yeah.
where it's necessary.
Yeah. You like me, we learned how to navigate through all
Yeah,
that nonsense,
yeah,
and make the best for what it was.
absolutely.
And I know a lot of people have told me, man, all them years were wasted. But I tell people, in your eyes, they were wasted. In my eyes, it was a growing opportunity for me to learn a lot about myself and
Yeah.
and prep. And I wouldn't give myself a trophy on being the best father or the best husband or best citizen or whatever. But there's a lot of things that I learned in there that helped me be who I am today. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I mean, through all the self helps, through all the reading, through all the different things, through the conversations with other
Yeah.
people, and something's working for us. You know what I'm saying? We're
Man.
still out here and thriving, and the good thing about it is that we're not trying to do this alone, man. We're bringing people with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it's not a alone work.
Hmm.
It's not,
Yeah.
and the more and more effective we can become in how to collaborate, and get this work outside of our own personal space,
Hmm.
it just makes it much
Yeah.
easier, and it makes it more competitive for the opposition to stay away and
Hmm.
be a part of it too, if for that
Yeah.
matter, because
Yeah.
it's all about change,
Yeah.
one person at a time, one thing at a time, and helping people to see things different than what they've seen and been accustomed to seeing,
Yeah.
you know and it's like, when you do that, you bring something new and you help them to see that newness is a light.
Yeah.
It shapes the behavior and help them to reshape their attitude
That's
from it.
right.
So I love
And
that.
and I always tell people, man, I'm a small force. My trap families is a small force, but it's the people that I know that make it big. The
Exactly.
resources, the Prestons, all the different people that are a part of our lives, where it
Yes.
makes it. I mean, it makes it that much easier. Where it's like, and we know so many people in the field that, let me call this person, and
Yes.
we have people probably like that are connected to everything:
Yes.
psychology, residentials,
Yes.
outpatients, medical. We got people.
And sometimes sometimes you got to call them on it,
Yeah. Yep.
and see. And what we don't want to get in accustomed to doing is asking for the help when you don't need the help.
Yeah.
And see that waters down the process.
Mhm.
Call on the services when it's needed,
Needed.
and then people be more acceptance of it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep. Yep.
so yeah,
Well, Preston,
good stuff.
before we officially hit the end button right here, what I want you to do is I want you to look in that camera for a minute or so and just share one last minute blast, to that family, that father, that
Hmm.
mother, um, that's kind of caught in the crossfire of their loved ones being incarcerated, being out there in criminality, in
Hmm.
addiction, for that person that's sick and tired of being tired, man. If you don't mind just sharing just one last power statement with
Man, for the families, who have some person, a loved one in the incarcerated environment, um, I suggest, and it's just a suggestion, that you know you read into your own emotional place first before responding in an emotional place. And when I say that is that the institutional environment, it is sufficient in providing you providing us with our needs. And sometimes we lose focus on that as family members, thinking that they don't provide the needs for us. And I'm not saying don't send your family member things and stuff. I'm saying just be wise about it, because it's a time of trying for everybody. The struggle is real out here just as well as it is incarcerated. And just know that if the needs are being met, then you understand that the balance, and you do what you can, not what being asked of you. And that's important, because some people tend to play on our vulnerabilities while we absent of the situation in general. And for those who are incarcerated, it's for us, to kind of do our own moral and personal inventories. Seeing where you are as an individual, what can you do as a person, and manifesting new knowledge on how you prepare yourself for your adventure in front of you. Finding your likes in the moment. Don't dream forecast. Stay within the moment and take each day with the gratitude, and you'll find out that your success and your freedom is right already in the presence of your state of being. So just be mindful of that.
All right. Well, thank you, Preston, man. I appreciate them kind words, man, them strong words, to our families out there. And man, thank you for taking your time out your day, man. I know you're a busy person, man, but I appreciate you, man. And
it's the end of the year.
Yeah.
Man, preparation.
That's right. So for all of you guys, man, one more time, I just want to wish you guys a happy new year. I pray that you have a safe new year. I pray for prosperity and happiness and all that good stuff, man, that we go into this new year. I know, man, and you know what? I'm not trying to throw no shade on this day, because I know people talk about new beginnings and new visions and all this stuff. And come January 2nd, man, we still got that debt. We still got that relationship that ain't perfect. We still got that child that's still running amok. And it seems like there's nothing new, you know. I understand this, but you know what? You got to have faith that it is new. It's a new year, it's a new day, and count your blessings, and continue moving forward, continue to have hope, and don't give up, man. That's the main thing. Don't give up, Um, anything's possible, and it's worth fighting for, man. It's worth fighting for. And what I mean by that is your family. Don't give up on your family. Don't give up on your loved ones. I know sometimes it seems like, man, it's too rough, it's too hard, and we burn bridges and all that good stuff, man. But I'll just say, pray about it, man, and seek direction, and just, ask, the Lord for help, and move forward, man. But with all that being said, man, you guys be blessed. I should be back next Sunday. I have another guest lined up. They haven't confirmed, but we'll be back next Sunday. Even if it just gotta be me, man. I don't know how many of you have even heard my story. Maybe I might share my story. Share my story in detail. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
I always send people to other podcasts to hear my story. I say, I already said my story, man. Go hear it over here, man. I'm done.
Right.
But nah, man. God bless you guys, man. I appreciate all the love and support. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit that subscribe, man. I appreciate it. Don't forget to share it. Hit the notification bell, so next time I do come on, you won't miss it, man. And thank you guys, man. Thank you guys for everything. It's been a good year, regardless of any struggle. It's been a good year, and I'm going into 2025 with faith and just understanding, man, that hey, this life is a fight, and I'm gonna keep fighting. So that being said, man, God bless you guys. You guys take care.
Bless you guys.